Most people think someone goes crazy because they're weak. Truth? They usually lose it because they were too strong for too long. Holding it together. Biting their tongue. Smiling through stuff that should have been addressed years ago. It's like shaking a soda bottle and telling yourself, relax, it's fine. Yeah, until someone opens the cap. The scary part isn't the breakdown. It's how normal everything looked before it. If you've ever felt mentally exhausted for no clear reason, this isn't random. It's pressure that finally wants to be heard. Let me guess, you're the I can handle it person. You're not loud about your problems. You don't fall apart in public. You don't even like calling them problems. You just deal with things. Bad day? You push through. Someone disrespects you? You brush it off. Life throws confusion your way? You tell yourself, others have it worse. And from the outside, you look fine. Responsible. Calm. Put together. But inside? Your mind never really shuts up. At night, when everything's quiet, thoughts start lining up like unpaid bills. Old conversations replay. Moments where you stayed silent even though something inside you was screaming. Times you accepted less than you deserved because keeping the peace felt easier. You're tired, but not the kind of tired sleep fixes. It's mental. Emotional. Heavy. You don't even know what you're tired of exactly. Just that motivation feels inconsistent. Your patience isn't what it used to be. And tiny things sometimes trigger way bigger reactions than they should. You've probably asked yourself, why am I like this? Or worse, what's wrong with me? Here's the thing, nothing is wrong with you. You learn to survive by staying composed. You learn to be strong early. And strength turned into a habit so automatic that you forgot how to set it down. This video isn't here to judge you or fix you. It's here to explain why carrying everything quietly doesn't make you enlightened. It makes you overloaded. And once you see that, things start making a lot more sense. Here's where most people mess this up, and honestly, it's not their fault. They think the solution is to try harder. More discipline. More routines. More lock in and grind. So when the mind feels heavy, they don't slow down, they speed up. They add another habit tracker. Another productivity app. Another motivational video yelling, wake up at 5 a.m. or stay average. And for a while, it kind of works. You feel busy. Distracted. Important. But busy doesn't mean healed, it just means occupied. This is like hearing a weird noise in your car and saying, if I drive faster, maybe I won't hear it. Bold strategy. Questionable logic. The real mistake is thinking emotional overload is a motivation problem. So people shame themselves. Why can't I focus like I used to? Why am I so lazy? Why am I overthinking everything? Then comes the fake self-control era. You tell yourself, I don't care. I'm unbothered. It's not that deep. Meanwhile, your brain is filing everything away for later like a revenge documentary. The internet doesn't help either. Everywhere you look. Hustle culture glorifying burnout. No excuses quotes from people with personal chefs. Productivity advice written by someone who's never sat alone with their thoughts at 2 a.m. So you start suppressing instead of processing. You turn anger into silence. Sadness into jokes. Anxiety into busyness. And here's why most advice fails. It treats the mind like a machine that just needs better settings. But humans aren't machines. We're emotional systems with memory. Ignoring emotions doesn't make them disappear, it makes them leak out sideways. Random irritation. Loss of motivation. Sudden exhaustion. Snapping at people you actually care about. You don't burn out because you're weak. You burn out because you've been strong without release. And until that mistake is corrected, no amount of productivity hacks will fix what's really going on. Let's be honest, self-improvement isn't really about becoming impressive. You don't wake up thinking, I want to optimize my life today. You wake up wanting your mind to feel lighter. You want peace without guilt. Focus without force. Confidence that doesn't disappear the moment you're alone with your thoughts. Deep down, you're not chasing success for applause. You're chasing relief. Relief from overthinking. Relief from constantly holding yourself together. Relief from feeling like you're one bad day away from losing control. What you really want is inner stability, the kind where your emotions don't hijack your day and your past doesn't quietly run your present. You want to feel grounded, not numb. Strong, but not exhausted. And once you understand that this is the real goal, improvement stops being about pressure and starts being about alignment. Here's the core insight, the part most people never hear, but feel their entire life. People don't mentally collapse because of what happened to them. They collapse because their mind never felt safe enough to process it. That's a huge difference. Pain itself isn't the enemy. Pain with no exit is. Most people believe the past is something you either move on from or forget. That sounds strong. It looks mature. But psychologically, it's a trap. Because your brain doesn't delete experiences, it stores them. Every ignored emotion, every swallowed reaction, every moment you told yourself it's fine when it wasn't, that gets archived. Quietly. Efficiently. Your mind is incredible at adapting. Especially when it has to. If you grew up learning that expressing emotions caused problems, your brain learned silence. If reacting honestly wasn't safe, your brain learned control. If no one helped you process things, your brain learned survival mode. And survival mode works until life becomes calm. That's the paradox nobody talks about. When things finally slow down, the mind doesn't celebrate. It panics. Because now there's space. And space allows old, unresolved thoughts to surface. That's why people often break down during periods when everything looks stable on the outside. The chaos isn't new, the silence is. Here's another truth. The mind doesn't process emotions in the background automatically. It waits for permission. If emotions were inconvenient, punished, or ignored earlier in life, your brain marked them as dangerous. So it learned this rule. Don't feel, function. That rule might get you success. It might earn you respect. But it charges interest. And eventually, the bill shows up as chronic overthinking, sudden irritability, emotional numbness, anxiety that comes out of nowhere, burnout without a clear cause. This is not insanity. This is pressure without release. Think of your emotional system like a dam. Each unprocessed experience adds water. Each ignored reaction raises the level. You can reinforce the dam with discipline, routines, success, and distractions. But if you never open the gates, the structure weakens. And when it breaks, people call it losing it. But the mind didn't betray you. It protected you for as long as it could. Here's where most self-improvement advice goes wrong. It assumes the problem is lack of discipline, clarity, or consistency. So it pushes tighter routines, stricter control, more mental toughness. But if control is what created the pressure, more control won't solve it. That's like tightening your grip on a glass that's already cracked. The real shift happens when you stop trying to fix yourself and start listening to yourself. Not dramatically. Not emotionally dumping everywhere. Just honestly. Emotions are information. Anger says, something crossed a line. Sadness says, something mattered. Anxiety says, something feels uncertain or unsafe. None of these mean you're weak. They mean your system is functioning. What creates instability isn't feeling emotions, it's invalidating them. Your brain wants acknowledgement, not exaggeration. Here's where integration comes in. Healing isn't about revisiting every painful memory or reliving trauma non-stop. It's about connecting cause and effect. When you understand why you react the way you do, the reaction loses power. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates choice. This is why two people can experience the same event and be affected differently. One suppresses and powers through. The other processes and adapts. One becomes reactive over time. The other becomes resilient. Resilience isn't toughness. It's flexibility. It's the ability to feel without drowning. To reflect without spiraling. To respond instead of explode. Your mind doesn't want chaos. It wants coherence. And coherence comes from making sense of your experiences, especially the uncomfortable ones. The moment you stop running from your inner signals, your brain relaxes. Because now, it doesn't have to scream to be heard. This is the real principle. Mental stability comes from emotional clarity, not emotional suppression. Once you start operating from clarity, focus improves naturally. Motivation returns without force. Productivity becomes lighter. Decision-making becomes cleaner. Not because life got easier, but because your mind stopped fighting itself. And that's when the pressure finally begins to release. Let me tell you a quick story that might feel a little too familiar. Meet Sam. Sam is the low-maintenance friend. The one who's always on time, always responsible, always chill. If something goes wrong, Sam shrugs and says, "It's cool." At work, Sam is reliable, the person who gets things done without drama. At home, though, Sam is exhausted in ways sleep doesn't fix. One evening, Sam is standing in line at a coffee shop. Long day. Brain already tired. The barista gets the order wrong. Nothing big. Truly not a big deal. But something inside Sam snaps. Not screaming. Not yelling. Just a wave of irritation so intense it feels ridiculous. Why am I this angry over coffee? Sam thinks. Here's what's actually happening. That moment isn't about coffee. It's about the project Sam handled alone. The time Sam didn't speak up to avoid conflict. The jokes Sam laughed at even though they stung a little. That tiny mistake was just the final straw on a stack that's been building quietly for years. Later that night, Sam lies in bed scrolling on the phone, feeling oddly unsettled. Thoughts start creeping in. Why do I overreact? Why can't I just relax? Am I losing it? Nope. Sam's mind is just tired of carrying everything silently. Now imagine a different version of that same day. Same coffee shop. Same mistake. But this time, Sam notices the tension. Instead of judging it, Sam thinks, okay, something's piled up. Sam takes a breath. Lets the irritation exist without turning it into self-blame. That night, instead of endless scrolling, Sam writes a few things down. What felt heavy today? What wasn't said? Nothing dramatic. Just honest. The next day, Sam sets one small boundary at work. Not aggressive. Just clear. And strangely enough, the mind feels lighter. Same past. Same personality. The difference wasn't what happened. It was whether the pressure was finally acknowledged instead of ignored. That's how quiet clarity prevents loud breakdowns. Alright, let's turn all of this into something you can actually use, not theory, not vibes, real life. Think of this as mental pressure management, not fixing yourself. Step 1, catch the overreaction, not the emotion. When something small triggers a big feeling, pause and ask, what does this remind me of? Strong reactions usually point backward, not at the moment itself. Step 2, name it accurately. Instead of saying, I'm stressed, get specific. Are you irritated? Disappointed? Feeling ignored? Naming the emotion is like turning the lights on, things instantly feel less chaotic. Step 3, unload daily, not yearly. Don't wait for a breakdown to process feelings. 5 minutes at the end of the day writing or thinking through. What bothered me today? What did I not say? This keeps emotional debt from piling up. Step 4, practice micro-honesty. You don't need dramatic confrontations. Try small truths. I don't have the energy for this right now. That doesn't work for me today. your nervous system loves clarity. Step 5. Schedule silence on purpose. Not scrolling. Not background noise. Just a short walk or quiet moment. At first it feels uncomfortable, that's normal. That's old thoughts leaving. Step 6. Replace self-judgment with curiosity. Instead of, "Why am I like this?" try, "What is my mind trying to protect me from?" Curiosity calms the brain. Judgment activates it. Do this consistently, and something interesting happens. You don't become emotionless. You become stable. And stability beats intensity every time. Here's a simple trick to lock this into your brain, no meditation app required. Picture your mind as a pressure valve, not a storage box. When pressure builds and has nowhere to go, things get noisy. Thoughts race. Emotions spike. Focus disappears. But a valve? A valve releases pressure before damage happens. So anytime you feel mentally heavy or unusually irritated, imagine yourself reaching for that valve. Then ask 3 quick questions. What am I feeling right now? Where have I felt this before? What hasn't been said yet? That's it. You don't need perfect answers. You're not solving your life. You're just letting pressure escape. Here's why this works. Your brain remembers patterns, not lectures. So every time you imagine that valve opening, even for 30 seconds, your nervous system associates honesty with relief. Over time, your mind learns. I don't have to explode to be heard. That image sticks. Because once you see pressure for what it is, you stop fearing it. You manage it. And management always beats suppression. Alright, let's wrap this up. Here's the takeaway: your past doesn't make you unstable, ignoring it does. Mental clarity comes not from pushing harder, but from listening, naming, and releasing what's been quietly piling up inside. You don't need to become tougher or ignore feelings. You just need to give yourself permission to process in small, consistent ways. Micro-honesty, brief reflection, and tiny boundaries aren't dramatic, but over time, they prevent that sudden, overwhelming pressure that feels like losing it. So, start small. Open that mental valve. Notice what your brain is trying to tell you. Give it space, and the weight will slowly lift. If this video gave you even a small aha moment, stick around. Watch the next one, try these steps today, and see how much lighter life can feel when your mind finally gets heard. Your past may be dark, but your clarity can be bright.